Thank you, sir.
Glad you're here, bro.
Appreciate it. All right. Y'all awake now? Okay, look. Y'all know that we live in a social media age, right? All y'all have social media? Okay, listen. We're going to do the exact same thing that we just did. So we're going to act like he introduced me all over again. Y'all are going to stand up. Y'all are going to hoot and holler, get all kinds of energy. So that way, whenever we leave here today, I've got tons of stuff to be able to share with your teachers, your administrators, with Mr. Column, so that way they can send that stuff out to see the learning that you all are doing, okay? So y'all put on your best poker face. Y'all got to turn in some actors right here. Can y'all do that? All right. We're going live on Facebook. So y'all got to sell this. Got to sell it. Hey, don't let me down a minute and a half into this presentation. All right? Hey. We'll do this like a fire drill until we get it right. Okay? So let's just nail it the first time. I'm going to tell you, calm down. I'm going to tell you when. All right, are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Let's go, let's go! Let's go! Yeah! Now sit down. All right. Y'all excited to be in here today? Y'all excited to get out of class to come in here today? Isn't it? Aren't we in week 1? Y'all are already over school? Okay. All right. Where's my 7th graders? So this must be my 8th graders. All right. And then we'll show the 6th graders some love from a distance. Okay, listen, like Mr. Gibson was saying, my name is Justin Aldridge, and I have the just huge blessing of being able to travel all around and to speak to young people like you all. I get to speak to adults, I get to speak in churches, in businesses, organizations, but my heart is speaking in schools. I was a teacher for several years. I was a coach for many years. So my heart is with you all. Because I still remember, even though I'm quite a bit older than you all, I still remember what it's like to sit in these seats. I still remember what it's like to have a few people come into my life and empower me to deliver a message that literally was life-changing for me. And when I would sit in the classroom every single day, I would build these relationships with my students, and I absolutely loved it. I was able to build some amazing relationships with these young men and young women. But I just felt called to get out there to spread my message even more deeply. And so that's what brings me here today. But before all of that, there was a completely different life. There was a completely different version of me. And that's what I want to start out by telling you about today. All right, there was an experience that happened in my life that literally changed the landscape of my entire life, and I wasn't much older than you all. I graduated really young from high school, so how many of you in here are 13? All right, put your hands down. When I was 13, I was sitting in a high school classroom because I was really young. I was a genius, that's why. No, I'm just kidding. No, so I started high school really young. I was not much older than a lot of you whenever this happened. And this was a night, it was a Sunday evening, and I had been out with my friends all day, playing around, playing football, doing what we typically do. I was at home watching Sunday night football, winding down, and I had dozed off on the couch. And then all of a sudden, I'm laying there, and I just hear, boom, boom, boom. And I jumped up off the couch, and I'm standing there, and I'm breathing heavy. I'm like, what was that? And so I go marching over the door. I'm mad. I just dozed off. I'm feeling good. And I walk over there, and I swing the door open, and standing there is 3 cops. And I was like, what in the world? Why are there cops at the house at 9 o'clock at night? And I'm standing there, and I'm kind of stunned. I didn't say anything, and it felt like a minute, but I'm sure it was only like maybe 5 or 10 seconds. Finally, one of the cops speaks up, and he goes, we're looking for John Aldridge. And immediately I got excited. And I'll tell you why. I've got an older brother named John. And this dude tortured me growing up. He was like that older brother that any chance that he had to be able to make fun of me, to like kick me aside, to not let me be involved, that was his life, was torturing me. And so I'm like, yes, this is payback right here. I'm like trying to find my phone. I'm like expecting him to like get billy clubbed, maybe even tased. I was fired up. But then I'm standing there and I still didn't respond. And that same cop barks up at me and he goes, son, is your father home? I was like, my dad? Why are you looking for my dad? I was like, I don't know. Let me go check. So I close the door. I go walking down the hallway to my parents' room. And I'm standing in the doorway. And my parents are laying there in bed watching TV. And I guess after a few seconds, my mom realized that there was something wrong based on the look on my face. And she leans up in bed and she goes, baby, what's the matter? And I was just standing there and I was like, there's 3 cops at the door looking for dad. Boom, my dad jumps up and bolts into the closet. Listen. And I'm like, what? As he's running in there, he tells them, Mindy, tell him I'm not here. And my mom pops up out of bed and she bursts into tears and she goes, Johnny, no, I'm not doing this anymore. It has to stop tonight. And I'm still completely oblivious. I have no clue what is going on. And at this time, my heart's racing. I'm kind of freaking out. I feel like I'm having an anxiety attack. And so I was like, I've got to get myself away from this situation, collect myself so that I can really start to understand. And I go to turn to walk down the hallway, and boom, those 3 cops ran me over. They had heard my dad, and they were going into the room to get him. And so I'm laying there kind of picking myself up off the floor, and all I see is these cops bringing my dad out, throwing him face down on the bed, and putting his hands behind his back. And my only reaction in that moment was to run. I took off running down the hallway, through the living room, out the front door. I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing, but I just kept running until I got to the parking lot. And when I did, I fell down on the curb, and I just burst into tears. And I just sat there just trying to figure out and make sense of everything that was happening. And I remember after about 5 minutes or so, I hear some voices behind me, and I turn around, and here comes those 3 cops. My dad's got his hands behind his back. They're walking him out, and my mom's behind him, still crying. And she comes over there, and she sits down on the curb next to me. I said, Mom, what's going on? And she said, honey, your dad made some bad decisions. Well, my dad ended up going to prison and served 7 years in prison because of all of that. And I tell you that story because it wasn't so much about the story and what happened with my dad, but it was more about me. Because what that experience taught me was that I was a victim in life. In my mind, all the experiences, all the things that I had been through made me feel weak. They made me feel scared. They made me feel like I had no control in my life. I was somebody who grew up, I was a very gifted athlete. I was extremely intelligent, always did very well in class, had great relationships with all of my teachers, never got in trouble. And this is not me tooting my own horn. I was a really, really good kid. But I realized right there in that moment that I was never going to be successful because I had already limited my own potential in my life. And I made a decision right there on that curb that night that from then on out, I was not going to accept that reality. I was going to become successful. How many of you, as you sit here today, you know you want to be successful? Raise your hand. All right, put your hands down. If you didn't raise your hand, that's fine. But my hope for you is that when you leave here today, you understand that every single one of you have equal access and opportunity to success. Success is not reserved for anybody. It's not reserved for those that come from money. It's not reserved for those who have athletic ability. It's not reserved for those who are smarter than everybody else. Success and the ability to be successful is open to every single one of you as you sit here. But a lot of you don't believe that, and on top of that, you're not doing the things in your daily life that are going to make you successful. So when I come in here, when I go and I speak to young men and young women about the things I speak about, I'm not a motivational speaker. Hopefully some of the things that I say to you are going to motivate and inspire you, but my job is to come in here and give you things that you can actually start doing in your life to change your life. As you walk out of here today, you can start doing these things and literally change the entire way that your life is going to play out in the future. All right, that's my promise to you, is that that's what I'm going to deliver today. Everybody good with that? Is everybody good with that? All right, before we get into all of that, there's 3 rules during my presentations. These were the same 3 rules that I had when I was a teacher. My expectations of you all. The first one is show up. I don't mean come in here and be a useless body, dozing off at the wheel, messing with your friend. When I say show up, I mean show up and be present, be intentional, be purposeful about our time together. When I stand up here, I give you every single thing that I have inside of me. All of the energy, all of the love, all of the passion that I have inside of me, I'm going to give to you. All I ask of you is to be present in this moment and open your mind and open your heart to receive what I'm giving to you, okay? The second one is work hard. We're not doing hard work. You're not going to go out back and start like breaking stones or anything. But when I'm asking you to think about things, I want you to actually invest in yourself and do the hard work. This is something that's going to continue long past today. This is something, the things that we're going to talk about are things you should be doing for the rest of your life. So work hard. And the last one, which is my biggest rule of life, is be respectful. I do not care if you look at yourself in the mirror and you see somebody who's not good at anything. You see somebody who you don't think can be successful. You see somebody that you don't like, which all of those things, by the way, you should get rid of, because every single one of you, we're going to talk about here in a little bit, are special. Every single one of you are unique, and every single one of you has the opportunity to do amazing things in your life. But whatever your current reality is, if you're not great at anything, if you just master the skill of being respectful, and it is a skill, it is something that you have to actually work at. If you master that skill, you will be successful in this life. Because one thing that you can absolutely take to the bank is that people want to be around people who are respectful, people who treat them well, right? Would you rather be around somebody who's a jerk and treats you like crap, or somebody who's nice and treats you well? Nice and treat you well, right? So that's my expectation. So when I'm talking, you all do exactly like you're doing right now. You give me your undivided attention. If for some reason one of your peers is talking and I'm having a conversation with them, give them your undivided attention. I've already talked to your administrators. I've talked to Mr. Collum. I know it's not going to be an issue, but those are the 3 rules anytime that I present. So is everybody good with those? Everybody good? All right, get your phones out. All right, listen up. So one of the things that I always prided myself on when I was in the classroom was that I was unlike any teacher. All right, just plain and simple. I did not run my classroom like a regular teacher. I did not teach like a regular teacher. I always tried to bring fun at the forefront of everything that I did in my class, because I know that when students are having fun, that's when they engage, that's when they learn the best, okay? So I allow students to have their phones at my presentations for 2 reasons. One of them is not to be sitting there scrolling through Facebook. If you want to look me up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, any of those, after we get done, feel free to do that. By the way, if you take any pictures throughout the presentation, which you're allowed to do, make sure that you put this hashtag with it whenever you post it, or send it directly to me, so that way I can compile all of those photos and I can share them with your administrators. All right? The reason I like for you to have your phones is because I want you to be able to take notes on anything that I'm talking about. There's something that jumps out at you, something you really like, write it down. Type it in your phone. You're going to remember it that way. You're going to sit there and hear something, and you're like, wow, that was really good, and you're going to try to remember it, and you're not going to remember it. So write it down on your phone. Second thing, like I said, I want you to be able to take pictures. Going back to what I was saying about having fun. What we're going to do before we get into all the hoopla and the seriousness of everything is when I tell you to, I want everybody to stand up when I tell you to. Everybody to stand up, and I want you to try to get as tight as you can, and we're going to take the biggest selfie in Hallsville history. All right? Let's go. Stand up. Come on, squeeze in. All right, y'all ready? Yeah. Oh, listen. After we do this, then you all are going to go through. I'm going to give you just a couple minutes, and you're going to take your own group pictures. Okay? So that way you can send them to me, and I can have those to share with you. All right, here we go. 1, 2. All right, get your phones out, take some pictures. Hey, listen, anybody that wants to get a photo, we're going to have plenty of time. Hold on. We're going to have plenty of time afterwards. I'm going to hang out. Once we're done, I'll take pictures of every single one if you want to. Oh, you know how to get to the camera. Oh, wait, let me unlock it. All right. If you're not already, get back to your seat. All right, if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Thank you. Some of y'all can't count. Okay, listen. Oh, we're going to let them get this straight now. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Has anybody in here, and the answer is going to be no, or at least it should be, unless you got really bad parents. Have any of you driven to New York City before? Y'all are a bunch of liars, man. Okay. Let's assume for just a minute that you all had your license. Okay? Hey, listen. Going back to that respect thing, when I'm talking, should you be talking? All right, let's make sure that we're abiding by that rule, please. So let's imagine for a minute that you all have your licenses, and we're going to take a road trip from Hallsville, Texas to New York City, and you're driving. I get in the car, and I tell you, all right, let's go. What are you going to ask me? I just told you where we're going. What, did you say something? I'm paying for the gas? No, I'm not paying for the gas. You're driving. All right. Obviously, a normal person is going to ask for directions. Well, okay, then you're a normal person. Calm down, sir. Okay, listen. Is that a question? It's a long way, I can tell you that much. All right, so obviously you're going to want to know, how are we going to get there? Well, in order to do that, you're going to need some sort of GPS, some sort of navigation device that's going to allow us to get there successfully. We can get there without it, but it's going to have a lot of time wasted having to stop, making wrong turns, having to correct those mistakes, and eventually we would get there. But it's going to take a lot more headache in order to get there. If you want to be successful in your life, one of the reasons why very few people are successful, and when I say successful, I'm not talking about they have a job, they have a family, they have cars. I'm talking about extremely successful. If you want to be, the reason why most people aren't extremely successful is because they don't take the time to get clarity in life. What does clarity mean? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you think you know what clarity means. Hey, if you don't have your hand up, you shouldn't be talking. Actually, you shouldn't be talking anyway. Clear? Okay. What's clear? Your vision? Good one. All right. So if we're trying to get clarity, that means that we're trying to get clear on something. All right? When you think about your goals in your life, what's a goal that somebody has? You have a goal right here? You have a goal in your life? What's your goal? Huh? Go to college? Okay. Listen. So his goal is to go to college, which I'm sure most of you have that goal. But how many of you have taken the time to back up and say, okay, what do I need to do on a daily basis in order to guarantee that I get to where I want to go, to achieve that goal? Most people don't do that. They don't take the time to get crystal clear on what it is that they actually want to do or achieve in their life. The way that your brain is wired, the way that it works on specificity. Meaning it likes things to be very, very detailed and specific. Okay? Not to get too scientific on you, but you have a part at your brain stem right here that's called your reticular activating system. You don't need to know that. But that part of your brain actually filters out all the junk, all the useless information in your life and starts focusing and going to work on the things that are important to you. All right, how many of you have ever been in a crowded room and you hear all this commotion going on and somebody can say your name, not holler your name, somebody can say your name and you hear it plain as day? How many of you had that experience? That is that part of your brain going to work, okay? Another experience that you may have had, your mom or your dad may have gotten a new vehicle, okay? And before, you never noticed that vehicle out on the road. All of a sudden, they get that vehicle and you see it everywhere. How many of you that's happened to you? Exactly. Listen, so what happens is that part of your brain, because something became important to you, that part of your brain actually starts seeking it out. It starts bringing it into your attention. So if you don't make your goals crystal clear, if you don't have clarity, what you have is confusion. There we go. Lack of clarity creates confusion. I just told you, your brain wants things to be specific. It wants things to be crystal clear so that it can focus and it can start bringing those things into your life. Hello? Okay, there we go. So if you're somebody who one of your goals is, I want to make $1 million, and you start focusing intensely on making $1 million and what's required to actually make that happen, your brain is going to go out and it's going to start allowing you to openly see the relationships, to see the opportunities that are going to allow that goal to be able to come to fruition. So you have to get crystal clear on what your goals are. Every single one of you should have a goal board or a goal list. And you should have your big goals, and you should have the steps that are required in order to get there. All right? So going back to going to college, what are some things that you need to be doing right now in order to guarantee that you get into college? Raise your hand. Okay, if you go to the military, college is free. Actually try. That's very good. Pay attention to class. Hey, listen. Okay, good. Study. Okay. Make good grades. I'm not going to go to everybody, but you all know the answers to that. But when you start getting crystal clear on those things and you start writing them down, now your body is going to actually start seeking out the opportunities to do those. So the first prerequisite for success is getting crystal clear on what your goals are. If you don't have that clarity, you're not going to be successful. A good analogy is, if I came into you, how many of you like to do puzzles? Puzzles, like put puzzles together. Anybody? All right, I love doing puzzles. Okay, listen. If I came in there and I had a big old 5,000 piece puzzle and I dumped it out on the floor, what's the first thing that you're going to want to see before you go to work on that puzzle? The picture on the box, right? If I told you, no, you don't get the picture. You just got to put the puzzle together by yourself. You don't get the picture. You're going to get frustrated, right? You're not going to be successful putting that puzzle together. Trying to go to work on your goals without getting crystal clear on what that goal looks like is like trying to put together that 5,000 piece puzzle without the box. That's how important it is. Whenever you don't have that clarity, it's going to create the confusion. The confusion is going to create frustration. The frustration is going to make you give up on the goal. All right? So that's the first thing. The next thing, at your age right now, everything is future-oriented. Everything is in the future. You are waiting to become something. How many of you know what you want to do with the rest of your life? Like you have an idea of a career. Football? Yeah. Hey, I asked the question, not the person next to you. A nurse? You had your hand up right here. Flying? Like you're going to learn how to fly? You want to be a pilot? Huh? Psychiatrist? Lawyer? Politics? Okay, listen to me. Every single one of you that had your hand raised up in the air and told me that you knew what you wanted to do, and even those of you that did not raise your hand, if I asked you, what are the habits or the characteristics or the traits of a successful person, every single one of you could describe that for me. Right? But the problem is that we all wait to become successful until we're given a certain position or a certain title or we're making a certain amount of money or we're standing on a big enough stage. The second difference between people who are highly successful and those who are not is that the people who are highly successful, they start being successful now. Lack of hard work, disrespect, not taking care of your body, goofing off in class, treating people poorly, those are not things that successful people do. So if you're doing those things right now, whenever you get to a higher position or you start to gain more success in terms of the positions that you hold, you're not going to just flip the script all of a sudden and become different. So the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is that successful people stop waiting to become something and they start being it now. All right? Every single one of you have leader inside of you, even though you may not see it. Every single one of you have success inside of you, even though you don't see it. Things like going to bed early. Things like waking up on time, getting to class on time, turning in your work, being respectful, investing in relationships. Those are all things that successful people do. So you can start being successful right now. Who said psychiatrist? All right. So you can go and you can look online all day long at the things that are required to be a psychiatrist, and you can start doing them now. You don't have to wait until you get to college to be a psychiatrist. All right? Who was I trying to think of? I can't remember. Oh, Steven Spielberg. Have any of you ever seen the original Jurassic Park? The original. All right. So the original Jurassic Park, The director of that movie is a guy named Steven Spielberg, if you don't know who he is. This is a classic example of somebody who did not wait to become something, but started being it early in life. He knew very early that he wanted to be a movie director. So rather than waiting for somebody to give him that title of being a movie director, he decided he was going to go down to Warner Brothers Studios and he was going to take that guided tour on the golf cart. He went through there, was on the guided tour. They came to a restroom stop. He hopped off and snuck behind one of the buildings. Got backstage, went through there, was very intentional about meeting people, shaking hands, building relationships, and did that all day long. When he left that evening, he went over to the security stand. Went up to the security guard, introduced himself, shook his hand, built a rapport with that guy. Came back the next day. Who was standing at that security stand? Steven? No. He was coming back. The same security guard. Guy lets him in. He goes in there, he does the same thing. He starts building relationships, communicating with people. This goes on for day after day after day, week after week after week, month after month. Next thing you know, Steven Spielberg literally works his way into a position at Warner Brothers without ever actually being hired. He showed up every single day in that identity of somebody who was supposed to be there, and people bought it. He went and found an empty office and actually went over there, had a nameplate made for himself, slid it in a little thing, and made that his own office. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about when I say stop waiting to become something and start being it now. For a lot of you, you're much like me. When you leave here, there's no model of success for you at home. There's nobody who's pushing you and motivating you and inspiring you to actually make something out of your life. But you have the choice to start being successful right now. You do not need anybody's permission. So start doing that right now today. Stop waiting to become something and start being it today once you leave here. All right, the next thing that successful people do. Have any of you ever heard the old saying, curiosity killed the cat? Yeah? That's a lie. All right? I love that picture. All right. Listen. Curiosity, being curious in life is actually what's going to set you up for success. Curiosity breeds creativity, and creativity is where success comes out of. If you think about all great artists, you think about all great athletes, you think about all great teachers, it requires creativity to be great at what you do. Nobody remembers somebody who just fits in. They remember the people who stand outside the mold, and creativity is what allows you to do that. Well, that creativity comes from curiosity. Now, obviously, you want to make sure you're controlling that curiosity, and you don't want to go out and get yourself in trouble because you're exploring places that you shouldn't be or you know you shouldn't be. But get curious in life. Get rid of these constraints that you've put on your mind. All right, I guarantee you, if I went back and I asked the 5-year-old version of you what life was like, it would be much different than as you sit here today. Because life and the people in life have a way of doing exactly what happened to me on that night. They have a way of making us feel beat down. It has a way of making us feel weak. It has a way of making us feel like we can't be successful. We lose that curiosity that we had when we were kids, so we lose our creativity. When we lose our creativity, we start limiting our potential. And when you limit your potential, that's when you set yourself up to live an unfulfilled life. That's when you set yourself up to not be happy, to go home and to be miserable in what it is that you're doing every single day. So go back to that childhood version of you. Try to think back to when you were in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade and think about what was the answer to the question, what you want to do when you grow up. This is something I ask my adult clients to do. Think back to that little kid version of yourself and think back to what the answer was. What did you want to be when you grow up? Because kids do not view life through the lens of bias or judgment or fear. They view life out of curiosity. That's the reason why kids want to be astronauts. That's the reason why kids want to be firefighters, and they want to be police officers, and they want to be professional baseball players. Because kids are curious. They want to experience things. So find that curiosity inside of you. Curiosity did not kill the cat. Curiosity is what allowed the cat to view himself as the tiger that could go out and be successful. You're not going to find that version of yourself sitting there putting limits on your mind and putting limits on your potential. It's by embracing your own curiosity, getting out there, exploring the depths of yourself, and finding out what you're truly passionate about. Who am I really as a person? What do I believe? When you get curious about all those things, that's when you start to discover the tiger inside of you and you stop living like a little kitty cat. All right, until I was 16 years old, I walked around as that every single day. I was scared of my own shadow. Something happened in front of me, and I wanted to curl up in a ball. There was no strength inside of me. Life had resigned me to living a life of mediocrity. And it wasn't until I started getting curious about who I was again that I started to discover that tiger inside of me. And that tiger inside of you, do tigers sit around and wait for the prey to come to them? What do tigers do? Tigers go out and hunt. Tigers go out and they find the food. Tigers ensure their own success. They're not waiting for anything to come and lay down at their footsteps. Too many young people nowadays are waiting for success to find them. Go in, find out what you want to do the rest of your life. Find out who you truly are. And when you do that, when you start standing in alignment with that, when you start being that every single day rather than waiting to become it or never becoming it, then you start going out and you create for yourself. You don't wait for anybody to give you permission, and you definitely don't back down from a challenge. So be curious. That's what successful people do. The fourth thing. What do y'all? Everybody always laughs at that picture like. All right. What does it mean to be uncommon? Don't say not common. To be different, right? To not fit in? Right. Listen to me. You want to know what the number one addiction is in today's society? It's not drugs. It's not alcohol. It's not food. It's not social media. It's not your phone. It's not love. No, listen. The number one addiction in today's society is what other people think about you. Everything that we do, listen, the reason why most people put the things out on social media that they put out are because they're worried about what everybody else thinks about them. The reason why most people are seeking love in all the wrong places is because they care what everybody thinks about them. The reason why most people are seeking out money, whoever was saying it back there, is because they care what everybody thinks about them. I can promise you right now, you are never going to live the life that you want to live if everybody else's thoughts and opinions are controlling your decisions. There's a great quote that says, don't let the people in the cheap seats have an expensive decision in your life. What that means is, how many of you are athletes or in extracurricular activities? All right, put your hands down. If you went out there every single day, day after day after day after day, and you are putting in work, you are pushing yourself to your limits, you're investing every single thing that you have, all right? You go out there in your respective competition. I don't care if it's dance, cheerleading, football, art, anything. Whatever it is, you go out there and you give it your absolute best. And then somebody comes up to you afterwards Somebody that you know doesn't work hard. Somebody you know doesn't live life with purpose. Somebody you know is never going to be successful. And they come up to you and they tell you, you're not any good. You're terrible at this. You're never, ever, ever going to be successful. How many of you would that hurt you? Put your hands down. The reality is, for most people, whether you want to admit it or not, it does. It stings. We don't like people to tell us that we're not good at something. But the problem is, for so many, it goes further than it just hurting your feelings. It actually starts to control your decisions. All right? I want everybody to look at your thumb right now. Look at your thumb. You might have to hold it up close if you're in the dark, but do you see all those little lines that are on your thumb? Yeah? All right, listen. If I were to take a piece of paper as big as this screen, and I had every single one of you come up here and put your thumbprints on there, we could go through under a microscope, and there would not be two thumbs in here that were the same. So what does that tell us? That tells us, listen, that tells us that we're all unique. That tells us that we're all made differently, and it also tells us that that is a good thing. That is by design. You were created differently than everybody else in this room. I don't care if you're the same age. I don't care if you're the same gender, the same race, the same political affiliation, you have the same religion, whatever. It does not matter. Every single one of you are different in your own way. And you're supposed to be. All right? Stop trying so hard to fit in when you were created to stand out. Now, I don't mean stand out in the way that you've got to go out and be arrogant and be boastful and be like, oh, look at me because I'm so great. I mean stand out in the way of figuring out what were you created to do. What is your gift? What is your talent? What is your purpose? Because every single one of you have one. Most people don't ever find it because they're so addicted and worried about what everybody else thinks about them. Young ladies, I'm going to tell you something right now. If it hasn't happened to you already, it is going to happen to you to where there is going to be men, young men in your life who are going to objectify you because of your appearance. It's going to happen. Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm very serious right now. That is going to happen. Fellas, while we're on the subject, please make sure it's not you. But ladies, the reality is it's going to happen. And when it does, you've got one of two choices. You can either allow that to define you, and that's going to start determining what actions you take after that, or that's going to start to strengthen you, and it's going to tell you what you don't want in your life and what you're not going to stand for in your life. Fellas, I'm going to tell you right now too, there's going to be a time when your pride is going to be so strong where you're going to want to go out and you're going to want to prove everybody wrong. You're going to want to go out and you're not going to want anybody to help you because you're a man and you're strong and you can stand on your own 2 feet. My dad went to prison for those 7 years for that exact reason, because he had too much pride and he wouldn't take help when it was given to him. People who are successful are exactly that. They're uncommon. They don't try to fit in. They don't seek validation from other people. If you think about a movie, all right, the movie ends, the credits start rolling, right? Up at the top, if you even stick around for the credits anymore, up at the top, you've got the few main characters, correct? And it says their name, says who they were. But then what happens when it gets further down the scroll? Well, it just starts saying like vague titles, right? Like guy standing up against the stop sign, bartender number 2, cab driver number 3. They don't even identify those people because they're not important. In our lives, we make way too many decisions because of cab driver number 3. or bartender number 2 or random dude leaning up against the stop sign. If you want to be successful, think about who the main characters are in your life and start making your decisions for them. Start making decisions so that you can be the best version of you, so that you can stand out rather than fit in. Why would I put a penguin on here? Hold on. What is it that penguins can't do that other birds can do? Penguins can't fly, right? Listen. It would be very easy for that penguin to get like really sad and really depressed and be like, oh, shucks, I can't fly. I'm a useless penguin. It would be really easy to do that. But no. What can a penguin do that most other birds can't do? They can slide, yes, but they can swim. All right? Listen. Penguins don't sit there and waste their time waiting for another bird to come along and validate them and say, hey, you know what? You should go try to fly. No, penguins are like, dude, I'm a swimmer, bro. I'm getting out of here and I'm swimming. I'm doing my thing. Penguins aren't trying to fit in with the seagulls. They're not over there wasting their time caring about what all the other birds think. They're doing their thing and they're doing what they are best at. It's time for you to start doing the same thing. Stop focusing on the noise. Stop focusing on what everybody else tells you you need to do, how you need to be, and start being you. That's when you're going to find joy. That's when you're going to create the life that you want to have. All right? Last thing. If you're going to go down the road to trying to live a successful life, you're going to have to face a lot of fear. All right? Listen to me. This is the reason why I was not able to be successful for so long. Because I had a fear of success. I had a fear of failure. I had a fear of other people judging me. I had all these fears inside of me, and you probably do too. In life, if you want to be successful, you want to be that person that stands out, you want to be the one who's able to be a millionaire. You want to be the one who has the nice cars. You want to be the one who's got all the followers on social media if that's important to you. If you want to be that person, you better be able to look fear in the face, okay? Let me tell you about fear. So I'm terrified of spiders, all right? Listen, y'all are from the country. You can judge me. I don't care. I hate them. It's like you're walking and you just like walk into one of their webs and you're like ripping it off of your face. They're just nasty. They got all them long legs, the beady eye. This is the one area where I got beef with God, and I think he may have got it wrong when he created spiders. Like, I hate them. They're gross. Okay? But another thing that I'm afraid of is heights. Anybody afraid of heights? All right? Put your hands down. When I was 10 months old, why, I don't know. I still have beef with my mom for this because it was really bad parenting, but apparently it was a good idea for 10-month-old Justin to be sitting between the rails at a 2-story apartment complex. This was back in the 80s. They did things differently. So, mom's inside. She's vacuuming the carpet. She looks. Justin's there. She looks. Justin's there. Justin's not there anymore. 10-month-old Justin was laying on the ground below. I landed about 2 inches from the sidewalk. I go to the emergency room. They check me out. Doctor comes out, says he's not going to make it. That's a lie. That did not happen. Doctor comes out and says, there's nothing wrong with him, not a scratch on his body. And my mom's like, everything's going to be okay? I was like, yes, I'm going to be Wolverine. I can't be injured. The doctor said, nothing wrong with him. He's not even going to remember this, but he's probably going to be afraid of heights. And he was right. Terrified of heights. Growing up, I was a little kid. We would go to theme parks, And my brothers and sisters, they're over there riding the roller coasters, man, having the time of their lives. They're coming off. They're all red-faced. Their hair's all messed up. They're laughing, high-fiving. And I'm the one over in kiddie land, like spinning around in that dinky little teacup, like trying to act like I'm having fun. Next time you go to the theme park and you see that kid over there in the teacups, go give him or her a hug because they need it. Nobody has fun on the teacups. All right? But seriously, that fear of heights prevented me from riding roller coasters until I was 13 years old. I did a quick search on the internet, and I looked it up. You know what the odds of dying in a roller coaster accidents are? I always get like 1 in 10. Do you realize that there would not be a roller coaster in the world if it was 1 in 10? It's like, strap in, folks, somebody's dying today. No. Listen, it's 1 in 750 million. Yeah, 1 in 750 million are the odds of dying in a roller coaster, and that fear of heights prevented me from riding them for 13 years of my life. That's what fear does. Fear rids us of joy. Fear rids us of passion. All right? One more quick example. A couple years ago, my wife and I went to New York City. Now, what used to be the Twin Towers, there's something called the Freedom Tower. Once the Twin Towers were knocked down in 9/11, they got this big building. My wife was like, babe, I want to go to the Freedom Tower. I'm like, all right, sweet. She was like, they got an observatory up there where you can go, you can look out, it'd be awesome. I'm like, awesome, let's do this. So we go in there, you walk in, you get in this elevator, and this is the coolest elevator you've ever been in. You're surrounded by video boards on all sides, and it's showing you the New York City skyline and how it's evolved over the last 100 years. And so you're watching these screens, paying attention to all this stuff. You're not paying attention to how high you're going. So you get there, ding, elevator doors open, you walk out, you're in this pitch black room. The show continues, all this awesome stuff. It's these big black walls, and then all of a sudden the show stops and these walls open up. And you're surrounded by glass. On the 104th floor of this building. All right? So, fear mode and afraid of heights kicks right back in. And the big buff dude, because I used to be buff back then, is standing back here in the back. Like, I'm trying to look, because I'm like, I am not going to that window. And so I'm standing there in the back, and I'm going back to my football days. I'm trying to give myself a pep talk. I'm like, oh, come on, Justin, you got this. Come on. Ooh. I'm back there for what feels like 5 minutes. And then have any of you ever seen Mission Impossible or some sort of spy movie? You know where there's always these conveniently placed lasers that they got to go through? After being back there for what felt like 5 or 10 minutes, I felt like I was one of those spies, and I was crouched down, and I'm working my way over these lasers, spinning around people. So finally, I get up there, and there's this metal plate, and then the glass comes up. And the plate was about 2 feet wide. I got my head down the whole time. I am terrified, y'all. And I'm walking up to it, and I'm just like, whew. I'm like, okay, we got this. We're going to do this. We're here. You came all the way up here. You spent all this money, you cheapskate. We are doing this. I'm just like, all right, on the count of 3, we're going to look up. It's going to be awesome. So I'm just like, whew. 1, 2 and a half. 3, and then I passed out. No, I didn't really pass out. I looked out, and it was phenomenal. It was the most breathtaking view I've ever seen in my entire life. You could see, listen, you can see all of the New York City skyline. You can see the Statue of Liberty. You can see all of Lower Manhattan, everything. It was amazing, and fear almost caused me to lose that dream, to lose that experience. In your life, if you want to be successful, if you want to stand out, if you want to do all the things that we just talked about, you're going to have to embrace fear. All right, a great motivational speaker named Les Brown said that fear stands for false evidence appearing real. You're only born with 2 fears in your life. Does anybody know what they are? Liars? Oh, no. Falling down and loud noises. Those are the only two things that you're afraid of at birth. So where do all the rest of our fears come from? Life. Life and the people in it. Parents. I instill fears in my daughter every single day. When she goes out there and she wants to go run on the concrete, and I go, no, baby, don't run on the concrete. I don't want you to fall and hurt yourself. I'm instilling that fear in her. Some fears are healthy because they protect us. Other fears are not healthy because they prevent us and they rid us of joy. You're going to have to learn to face fear in your life. There's a sign that hangs in my garage, and it used to hang in my classroom. It says, everything you want in life is on the other side of fear. Your success, the life that you desire, a life filled with joy and with purpose and with passion, is on the other side of fear. So you better get real comfortable staring fear in the face if you want to take on that challenge and be one of the people who's uncommon, who lives a life differently than everybody else. All right? Boys and girls, y'all ain't even boys and girls. Young men, young women, I'm thankful for you allowing me to be here and spend this time with you all. I told y'all at the beginning, listen. I told y'all at the beginning that I do this because this is what I am deeply passionate